Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
I'm sorry. Mark, when you look at those incoming freshmen who have been here early, it's a little different perspective because they've already have a spring under their belt. Is there any guys that you feel very confident on will play early?
From our incoming guys that came at mid-year?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I would say that right now you got to look and Xavier Henderson. I think he's got a great chance to play. Kalen Gervin as well. Those two guys have performed very well, and I think they understand what to do. Paul Haynes, our secondary coach, Don Treadwell has done a great job with them.
And with the new...
Do you expect more guys to get that 4 games?
Yeah, I do. I think that if you're ahead, you can certainly give them opportunities to play, but I think it's going to translate into later in the season. You're going to see some guys play in bowl games, or guys play towards the end of November relative to injuries. I think most players are going to be much better prepared to play towards the end of the season. And I also think that it gives them added significance to stay in shape, continue to learn, and continue to get better as a football player. You know, it sort of gives them a lot of times when they become redshirted, they sort of like shutting it down a little bit. So it keeps them on edge, I think.
Do you know, if you had that rule last year, how many guys? I know you played 13 true freshmen last year.
Yes, we did.
If you went back, do you think that number would have been greater if you had that rule?
I think we played them all. I don't know if we'd have played any more than that. I can't say every player is going to have that opportunity. They have to earn their way there, and we have an experienced football team, so it's going to be more challenging.
You guys have the staff talks about roster management like that.
Yeah, we talk about our roster every day relative to football, and really relative to everything, but relative to football, especially during camp.
The transfer rule, I can't ever recall seeing you guys blocking a transfer. I don't know, but more now that you can't. Well, I guess what's just your overall opinion of them being able to
block a transfer?
Well, yeah, now that you can't with that new rule.
Yeah.
Do you have
the rule being that how they have to they don't have to ask for permission. They can just make that acknowledgement that they're going to do that. Yeah, we've never blocked a transfer. I think that guys want to leave. There's a lot of reasons people leave. Sometimes they're homesick. Sometimes they need a change. Sometimes they're looking for an opportunity to play. Other times maybe they've had a situation they got to go. But so there's a lot of different reasons. So I just want our players to be successful at all angles, every one of them. Trevor came from the University of Cincinnati and actually had to get 45 hours in one semester in the summer school. He had to get 45 hours to be eligible. He sat 1 year and then he had to be able to do that. So and he did it. How much
of a concern is it to you that you guys made it, but Big Ten champion hasn't made the college football playoff the last 2 years, and this division, much has been written about the 4 or 5 playoff contenders. Is it a concern to you that the Big Ten champion doesn't get it?
Yeah, I think it's a concern, but when you're trying to get to the playoff, everything's a concern. And the margin of error is very small, and if you lose 2 games, you're probably on the outside looking in if there's a lot of one-loss teams that are champions. I think the champions component should pay dividends, and the strength of schedule should pay dividends as well. But I don't make those decisions. I'm just part of the players. So I have my opinions, but they lost to a couple good football teams, and they probably didn't lose close, and probably not losing close cost them.
Are you good with 4? There was talk here this week about 8 teams, 16 teams, whatever.
Yeah.
Is 4 ideal for you?
what's ideal is, as long as we're in it, that would be ideal. So if I guess we were number 8, I'd like to have 8. But I do think that when you start talking about a bigger picture playoff, you're asking for more of a grind down on the players. There's more things. There's a lot more things to have to look at. But again, my wife continues to tell me, if you're not qualified to speak on it, don't. So I'll just, I don't know those things. I'm just going to line them up.
Yeah, Coach, you brought a couple offensive players to represent Michigan State. You've always had defensive teams. What's the biggest improvement you've seen from LJ, Brian, and some of the other guys going into this year?
Last year we had a limited amount of offensive production coming back last year at this time. We had 12 guys we had 12 catches on our team coming back. This year we have 150, 160 with 3 players. We have a proven quarterback. We have an offensive line that has much more experience. We started a redshirt freshman and a true freshman, and another true freshman played a lot on our offensive line, and they're good players. We started sophomores on the left side. So we're a more experienced team on offense that needs to lend to more production and points. Can't turn the ball over, have to score in the red zone, but I think that we have playmakers on offense, established playmakers, and then we have some young players who are coming that it'll be interesting to watch. Cam Chambers, a young player, had a nice last week of spring. Some guys like that I think that have a chance to make a move.
Mark, after Kirk Cousins left, you admitted that you made a mistake not getting Andrew Maxwell some reps.
Yeah.
Do you foresee that you'll get some reps for Rocky? I'm not saying a ton, but just so he gets that under his rep because of what you learned from the Kirk and Andrew situation?
I think that when given opportunities, we're going to play our other guys. Now, you want to put them into crunch situations and put the pressure on them at a very high level. We may do that, but it'll all depend on what kind of August both he and Theo Day has. But I do think that they're poised. Those are 2 good quarterbacks. Rocky Lombardi is an excellent football player. And Theo Day has shown great promise as well. So if we can give them an opportunity to play, that's a positive to me. But they've got to have great August camps.
Mark, the team motto this year
is a lot of captains. You've had a lot of captains. Last year it went down to 2.
Yeah.
Brian Allen and Chris Fry, and a big part of your turnaround. What is the legacy they leave behind in leadership, and how does the leadership core look this year coming together?
We have more leadership this year than maybe we've ever had. It could have brought, and it's. When you come here, you're in the big show, and I think we could have probably brought an additional 5 guys here this year. So I think we have those type of players. So it'll be interesting to see who are the captains. I anticipate 4, but if 2 people are if there's such a large drop and then everybody else is spaced out, then we just went with 2, and everybody else alternated in there. But it worked. Everybody had an opportunity to lead. I think at the end of the day, that's what we need to have. We need to have everybody leading and on and off the field, and that's a positive. But we have there's no question in my mind this year we have a strength of this football team is our leadership and our experience, and how we treat each other. I've been very impressed on how we go about our business in terms of how we relate to each other. Sure.
You said maybe brought as many as 5 other players here. Who might some of those guys have been?
Well, you certainly could bring Joe Bocci, Felton Davis. Could have brought Raekwon Williams, Kenny Willekes. Those type of guys.
Mark,
Andrew Dow.
Raekwon is a guy that doesn't get a lot of attention from the media, but the players seem to always bring him up. He's a quiet guy, but what makes him such a leader that your team talks about him all the time?
I tell him, because I tell him, dream big. One of his dreams, he's going to be the mayor of Chicago. Write it down.
All right.
That's his dream. I said, it can happen. It can happen. He is a very grounded individual, very pleasant person, quick to smile, quick to laugh. He prepares very hard. You could count on him as a person. He's a joy to be around. He really is. And, I really believe that if he wanted to do something like that, he could. So he has a gift. And I'm campaigning for him, by the way, in the city. Yeah, Jack Hammer.
He's going to stay there, I imagine. Is there any other positions
Jack Camper is one of those young players that really looking forward to watch because he missed a lot of last season with injuries. He came in early and he had a foot problem in the spring and things like that. But he's about 6'4" or 5", 250 pounds. Can really run. We moved him to defensive end and immediately saw that his pass rush. He's got great length, and he could be a factor there. If we need to move him back over to tight end to fill to be a dual type player, maybe we could. But I think right now, getting him on the field and allowing him to play defense is the thing to do. And I see him as being a guy that if he has a great August, he'll take off.
You had to move a lot of guys to linebacker in the spring. You plan on keeping those guys there, or is there going to be just shifting back?
Linebacker has become a position of depth for us. I think we have 16 scholarship guys maybe at linebacker, or 14 or something like that. So, in the spring, Bocce was out with a wrist, and Andrew Dow was out with a thigh, and we had one other one out.
Antoine Simmons.
And Simmons was out with his neck. So all those guys are back full go, and so Byron Bulla had a tremendous spring practice. I thought he put himself in a position to play. Antoine and Andrew, and there's Tyreek Thompson, and Reschke.
Yeah, I was going to say that leaves Reschke. You've used the linebacker now in Russia, and that's a spot that you want to try and jump in. Is that something you get down with?
In a nickel package, we're going to play our best players. Brandon Randall's another guy. So we've got depth at that position. These are all guys who've played, and they've had good springs. And, Brandon's a tremendous athlete, as you guys who watch our program. So we've got depth at that position. So it'll be interesting to watch August. Those guys are going to have to play.
Assuming that everything stays on course with Reschke, is he a guy you would let compete for a starting job, or do you think you'd put limitations on that?
I think that's too soon to tell, because I think that that's a situation it's a process. It's a step-by-step process, as I said earlier.
Coach, you mentioned on Reschke that him coming back from the program was going to be a player-led decision. That was going to be up to them. As you weigh the pros and cons of what he can contribute, whether it's on the field, off the field, in the locker room, you mentioned your leadership earlier. Why do the pros outweigh the cons of having him on the roster?
Because our players acted on it, and because I always think that it's very important to try and finish something, especially, and I spoke on this morning, so I really don't want to talk about it because I just get rambling, But I think that to look your problem in the eye and address your problem and be forgiven and to be able to move on with your life in the big picture is a more positive thing than cutting and running. And it takes a certain amount of you gotta be a man and stand up. So that's I just think I look and say what's better? Is it better to surround him with these people or what? So I just try to do what I think is best, and I listen to our players and I listen to our leadership council a lot, and I want to empower them with major decisions, because I think that's how you grow as a team, and I think that's how you grow as a person. So whether it's the standing up for the flag or whether the other issues that we've been involved in, these are real issues and real issues in society, and I just think there's growth in that.
Mark, 19 guys. You said in the spring, is the leadership council that made that decision?
Leadership council, and then it went permeated throughout our team, and they've had meetings on it. They've had meetings on that specifically as a team. Oh, key to longevity in the Big Ten. Got to be able to survive these meetings. No, I think continuity with your staff. I think as much as anything, if you have continuity on your staff, you have a chance to be successful. We've had that. We've got three new coaches coming on the staff, but they all have Spartan roots. Treadwell has been with us. He was with me for 7 years. He's coached Michigan State in the past, been a coordinator, been a head coach. Paul Haynes, been a head coach. Been at Michigan State, and then Chuck Bulla's played here, and this place means so much to him. Mike Tressel being the sole coordinator by himself, I think is a big story in this. I think he's done a tremendous job getting ready, and it's going to be exciting to watch him. and that staff.
Mike Tressel is a guy that a lot of people said, well, when you came, he came because of Jim and all that. But he has proven to be a terrific coach. What do you like most about Mike Tressel's coaching ability?
First, Mike knows remember now, Mike has been with me for 15 years. He knows our defense inside and out. He's coached our linebackers for 15 years. So put that as, when you're a teacher and that's what you are, put that in the classroom. He's an extremely intelligent guy. He's a numbers guy. He's a technique guy. He's an outstanding athlete himself. I mean, he can, believe it or not, he was an All-American wrestler. So players love him. They respond to him. And I think he's driven. So it'll be interesting to watch him perform this year. But high expectations for our defense.
Mark, this is the 5th year of divisional or geographic divisional play. Do you recall
Fifth year
of the East-West part? What do you recall of that kind of debate? Because I know Michigan State was in discussions on whether or not to go west or stay in the East. What was your opinion?
I don't know. The only thing that I do remember me saying was that that coming to the East, Michigan State will add to the East. Will be somebody that the people will have to deal with us. I know that we have to deal with the others, but they have to deal with us as well. And I think that's proved to be proven. However you say that.
There's been discussion though that it's too unbalanced. There's certain teams in the West, but the East is considered maybe the best division in football. Should there be consideration to any kind of realignment potentially in Michigan State?
Well, again, it's something I cannot control, nor have I ever thought about, to be honest with you. We're just going to play them as they come. But it's exciting. These games are big games. They are on a large TV audience. They're on a national scale, and they have national meanings. So I'm excited about that, and I just line them up and coach them.
Coach, you pushed really hard for Bill Beekman to be the guy as athletic director at Michigan State. I know you put a lot of thought into that. What can improve? What needs to change in the athletic department from your vantage point? Why is Bill Beekman the right guy for that?
First of all, Bill's had a 5-month interview. He's had an opportunity to interact with our players, our student athletes, basketball, football, whatever. He's had a chance to interact with our coaches, not just the football coaches, but all of our coaches across the athletic department. He knows our academic deans and so many of our faculty from having been here. He ran our Spartan Fund, our donor event fund, so he understands who the major donors are. He's been in administration, so he knows the administration aspect of it. So again, it would be like walking in here and knowing every person here and their background and having a personal relationship with every one of them. So it gives him a tremendous advantage. At the time, he was working 2 jobs. They still had him working a job in administration. He was still working a job as the athletic director. He needed to have one focus and be able to move forward. When tasked with opportunities to move our program forward and make decisions, he immediately responded on those decisions. So these are big. To me, I look at our football program as a big rock. You got to move that rock. You got to have it. To do that, you have to have one focus and one job. And I just thought he had a unifying presence to our athletic department, and certainly with football, I thought he did a great job when he talked to our players, when he talked to our true freshmen, our rookies, as a group in June, and when he talked to our recruits in May. I thought he did an outstanding job with the message, and I just thought that when asked, it was my, I said what I had to say, that I thought he would, that I didn't think we needed to look, and so I probably pushed that on President Engler a little bit, or myself and Izzo Miller, or at least I was a sounding board. And I felt like he was the right guy for the job. And there is no right time. These positions, these jobs are positions of leadership. They are very difficult jobs. And there's a lot thrown at you. And at this point in time, and I've always said, whatever's taking place, there's always got to be a special time, a special place, okay, with special people. And at this time, place, and person, he's the right man for the job. And I really feel strongly about that.
You've said that you're a realist. It's about winning and losing, but to you, it's more important about building people. What was your pride listening to Kari's speech today?
Oh, wow. Kari Willis did an outstanding job. And, I had him talk to our players on Thursday, and we filmed it. And, he watched the film about 5 or 6 times, so he was prepared for his message. He was very well received in the same way that he was received today with his message. But he is just an on-point person. He is just a person that you want to be around, you gravitate to. There's strength in who he is. He is a faith-based person. I think that rings true. But he's a guy that you root for. You always root for him. And, he has no preconceived notion of himself, or he's just trying to do a good job with what God has given him, to be honest with you.
How are the Panashuk brothers looking?
Panashuk brothers are awesome.
They ready?
They're ready to go. Yeah, Mike's down in weight. He had a tremendous spring. Very good spring. Improved his quickness. He understands going into his 3rd year now. He understands the technique involved. And then Jacob, his younger brother, is 250, 255 pounds, or 60 or 70, whatever he wants to be. But he can be an outstanding player. He needs to stay healthy. Got a little banged up last year as a true freshman, but he played as a true freshman last year, so he's one of those guys that I think you'll see big things from.
And all the brothers, you've got so many brothers.
I know, it's amazing. It's tremendous.
A program across the country that has more brothers than yours.
I think what I did, I tell them when we recruit me, my brother lived with me for 4 years at the University of South Carolina. It can be done. So, but yeah, when you have a younger brother come to your program, there is a good feel about what you're doing as a program. You just feel like, hey, we're doing it the right way. Because when I talk to recruits all the time, the most important thing that you can do as a recruit is to find out the truth behind every program. What is the truth? Behind all that stuff, that shining stuff, what is the truth behind every program? And our players and their brothers, their younger brothers, know the truth. And when they decide to make a decision to attend Michigan State, to me that's a big positive in terms of what's going on and what's happening. Yeah.
Responsibility. Now that you have freshmen on campus, are you able to refine that role at all and sort of define, I guess, what you want out of that position coming forward?
Yeah, I actually got the idea from Jim Tressel, and I thought that is a great idea, because sometimes our freshmen get lost in the mix. Especially if they're not playing as much. They need to have somebody that they can get to know, somebody who knows them inside and out, somebody that goes beyond the head coach and can break it down a little bit more for them. And just another tier. So they have their position coach, they have their position, their freshman coach, they have their head coach. So it's just another level, and I think it's been very, very positive, and it's been very positive for him and for our players. Yes, yeah, go ahead.
He said in the middle of last season that he knew he probably shouldn't come back, but he felt that was best. You sort of have an inkling that might be his decision.
Sort of towards the end of the season that I thought that was the direction he was going, and but I was surprised when he made the decision immediately after the bowl game, and I thought it was a big positive. And again, I think it's a statement in terms of what's going on in our program, that he wants to be a part of that program and wants to continue his career, continue his education. He gets closer to a degree, which I think is huge because he's done well in school. And then also, obviously he's like a great recruit. You have a guy back that has that kind of performance and ability, just like when Connor Cook and Shalik came back. We won a championship that year, so that's a big item on your checklist.
When you look at recruits over time, a guy who had Ohio State opportunities from Ohio, maybe the first guy to really, when you look at significant state recruits, one of those guys?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's a guy that that made a statement as a freshman. He's made a statement every year now. He hasn't had that 1,500-yard rushing year. Maybe it'll be this year, but he's gotten some tough yards, and he's made some big plays in some games for us. All the time. All the time. Hold on to the ball. You gotta. You can't turn the ball over in this game. You can't turn it over, and their statistics back that up. So, but He'll be all right. You know, I have faith in him. I have, you know, when you hand the ball to people, there's a trust factor involved. I feel confident that he's going to be fine. I can't remember it that long ago, but yeah, I think he did. I think he had some tough yards that he got. You know, there were some 3-yard, 4-yard games.
You mentioned going on, you don't mind, his mother talked about not wanting him to feel the pressure of needing to take care of her. That's something he talks about, that being the real driving force. When you have players who, the next level is an important thing for consideration, for financially, for other people, you talk to him about that sort of thing, do you sense that in him? That's something that there's a greater pressure on him than maybe some other kids?
You know, we talk a lot about football, Will. I don't know if I need to speak to this.
Yes, please.
Oh, you do? You talk about football ending at some point for every one of our players. Some sooner, some later. But at some point, that's going to end. And the education that you receive is going to take over. It should take over. So he gets closer to his education. I don't force the moment on anybody. I do think that if you're going to go, you better be sure that you're a first or second round pick. So I'm sure that those type of things weighed in on him a little bit, but he's got a responsibility to his family. He's got a responsibility to his teammates. There's not that big of a period in his life in terms of what's 6 months. You're making a decision. You know, maybe it's a year decision, but really it's 6 months because it's not going in January. It's essentially coming out, coming back for another 6 months or so. Absolutely, changed their football team, and I think it's good for him. It's an area of growth, and I think that's what the game of football sort of should be about as well. You got to win. I understand that, but you're also growing young people, and an opportunity to come here and talk, an opportunity to be at this level and scope of media frenzy will only help him at the next level.
Coach, field position differential and turnover margin were two areas where you guys really stood out last year, and Brian Lewerke, a big part of that, only had 7 interceptions. It seems in your comments after games toward the end of last season, you were investing more and more trust in him making decisions on the fly. You're talking about run-pass options now. Him and Dave Warren are working together. How would you describe the freedom that he has, Brian, compared to maybe past quarterbacks you've had in Hoyer and Cousins and Cook?
He's got that same freedom. He's in control of the offense. He's a big communicator out there. He's got a decision to make where to go with the ball. RPOs, he's got a decision to make what to do with the ball, keep it, throw it, or hand it off. So he's got a lot of decision-making ability, and he's going into his 4th year. And I just think that Brian's going to try and do his best. He always will. He's a very calm and collected individual. He's cool under pressure. Does not get rattled. He's got a big arm. But I think his persona as a leader, and he's very much a leader for our football team, gives him credibility. He's got street cred on our football team. I mean, really, when you talk about it.
Mark, Jake Hartbarger, obviously senior year, but how do you measure, putting success for a senior, taking up whatever the next level might be?
Yeah, Jake's had an outstanding 3 years. He's got a big leg. Needs to be a little bit more consistent at times, but big leg, and he can flip the field for you, and he's done an outstanding job. I know that last year, we had some punts. We actually led the nation in punts going into the end zone, which is not a good statistic. But a lot of those were really on our punt team. Had some younger guys running down, and we didn't quite get the ball knocked back. But we had quite a few of them inside the 10. I thought he did an outstanding job. But he's got a great ability, great hang time. He's a player.
I know he's such a small sliver to the overall game. You never really want to see him.
Oh yeah. Punt is the most important play in football. Has the biggest dramatic change in field position of any play, consistently.
But I guess my point is, he's not a quarterback where you expect personality, or maybe a center. But does he provide anything, away from the field that helps your team and whatever that means?
Yeah, Jake's a quiet guy. Is a very quiet individual, unassuming type of leadership. He's extremely well liked by our football team, and he'll bring it.
You usually recruit a punter every 4 years. You've had great success as a freshman going a full 4-year term as it's turned out. I'm guessing this is the year to recruit a punter again. Is that on the board?
William Grissom is a walk-on punter that was one of the most outstanding punters in Florida, so he'll come on to campus. He is on campus now, so we'll see how he does here in August, and we'll make a decision from there based on his performance.
Who did you mention? I didn't hear the name.
William.
Okay.
I think this is maybe your best. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When LJ comes back and it's all settled that he is going to be coming back, when you guys have those next few conversations, what are some things you're telling him about, this is what I want to see from you guys? If you're committed to coming back, this is what I would like to see as a senior from you.
Leadership. If you're going to decide to come back, you got to get better in certain areas. You know, leadership. He's a quiet guy. Growth in terms of opportunities like this. Continue his academic responsibility, which he has done. And then come back, got to hold on to the football, but then come back ready to go, in great condition and ready to go. And, running backs get hampered a little bit at times, so he's got to be able to put those small injuries behind him and be able to play forward.
I know you don't like to specifically talk about coaches, you like to brag about your whole staff, but recruits have talked a lot about Chuck Bulla, and your current players on the roster have talked a lot about his fire, energy. What have you seen from Chuck? Because I don't think you've had a coach like that personality-wise since Pat.
Coach Snyder's a little like that, but yeah, Chuck brings a certain flair. I think emotions more. All these guys are emotional on the field, but he's going to do some different things out there to motivate, and I think he's been. When he interviewed, I was very impressed with him. But he is a ball coach. Hank Bulla's son there, ball coaches. I mean, he's spent time in the NFL. He's spent time at different, universities in the Pac-12 and the ACC with Syracuse and UCLA. He's been in the Browns. He's been in the Bears. He's with Eastern Michigan, and they've done a dramatic turn. I think they've made a dramatic turn. So all those things, I think. But he's fun to watch, no question. Fun to watch. He gets after it.
Coach, offensive line, you plug in your third Allen brother. Not sure if you have 4 or 5 more on the way, but
I think there's 15 of them.
Returning starters, guys will be battling for positions. You talked about the physical transformation, Cole Chewins. Just where are you at in the offensive line? What still needs to be determined?
Kevin Jarvis returns for a second year, and I think he's had a very, very good spring. And he's a very good player. Right tackle, Jordan Reed or Luke Campbell, either or, they can flip around in there. Luke can flip over the other side. David Beadle's back. He was injured in the spring, didn't go through spring. Tyler Higbee, another guy with a very good football player. You've got Cole Chewins, again, back at left tackle. You have Matt Allen. I'm looking forward to watching some other guys like Jacob Isaiah, who's a true freshman. I'll be interested in watching him. Matt Carrick was injured last year, the knee. He's healthy now, so it'll be interesting to watch him. He was an outstanding player coming out of high school. I think that he's got the ability. A.J. Curry is now coming into his 3rd year as an offensive lineman. He's a 290-pound big athlete. I'm sure I'm missing somebody.
You made a mantra of your team, speed. This offseason, really, there was a ton of focus on speed. Do you like the team speed you have heading into 2018?
Very good team speed. Got to play fast, so we got to know where to go, what to do.
One of the big rules this season, big rule changes, the new kick return rule, catch inside the 25. Obviously, I'm sure it impacts your return strategy much more. How much have you really had to change those conversations? Because now you put an extra responsibility upon your returner's shoulders.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I think there's a lot of different people going a lot of different directions with that, and so that's a little bit of an unknown how it's going to impact the game. You certainly, if you're fair catching, you better catch it. You can't muff it because the ball's going to be down right there. But I have confidence. Don't put a guy back there who can't catch it. So that's a problem if he doesn't catch it. Period. Do you return it or do you not when it's on the 2, depending on the the height of the ball and things of that nature. So these are things that we've experimented with in the spring, and we'll have to experiment with again consistently in the fall and watch how it develops in the games.
James Franklin talked yesterday and basically said that he thinks teams could get more creative with their kicks, try a lot more boost kicks or squib kicks. How much preparation goes into just different kicking elements where they're going to try and force your guys to make the return?
Yeah, I think there'll be more of that. well, like I said, it's going to be. They could have done it last year. You know, I mean, you have the opportunity to fair catch it, take it on the 25, or return it. So, I think what it's going to deter is that guy who can hang it up with 4.2 hang time and put it on the 1 or 2. That's going to deter that kick. The rest of it, I think, may remain pretty much standard.
Mark, it seems like you got a shot at the secondary being perhaps as strong as the days of the no-fly zone. You feel confident about the way that unit can look this year?
Yeah, we got everybody back, and I think we've gotten better over the course of time. Some of our younger players have gotten better, so it'll be interesting to watch. But you know, we play great offenses, and they got great receivers, etc. And so there will be challenges. We've practiced that. We practiced him down. We practiced him up. It's not so much does he go up, but who comes down and what responsibilities they have. So, you know, we'll have 3 different scrimmages this August, and you know, we'll have them up and down and all around. We'll try and figure it all out. It's about where he's most comfortable and where I'm most comfortable.
What player were you talking about, Mark? I apologize.
Mike Tressel in the box or not?
Okay.
I mean, that's you've obviously had him go now.
Yeah, I allowed him. I asked him, "Hey, come down on the sideline, get some of this sometimes. Come and enjoy."
Mike's a fiery guy. I mean, his presence. I mean, you like his presence on the sideline.
Yeah, I like his presence on the sideline. You know, he's an energy guy, and so we're going to see how that all works out. But my experience as a defensive coordinator is when you're up in the press box, the field is this big. It literally is that big. So when you get an 8-yard gain against you, there's no panic. Even a 20-yard game, there's no panic. When you're on the field and you see that ball go 15 yards, you're like, whoa, that's a big gain. And it sort of takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I want him to be able to make good decisions. So that's as much as anything. I think that he does have a way with the players down there, but I think he continue to be able to handle the players via phone.
Mark, the defensive end position, not Willikers, but the other one, Justice Alexander, Jacob Panisher, maybe a little bit. How important is that other defensive end position to come along? Do you see Panisher being a guy to play inside or outside eventually? Is he a boundary guy like that?
Right now, he's a boundary guy. Justice Alexander has had a good spring. I think Jack Camper's a guy that we've got to watch. Dylan Alexander's another guy with experience there. So there's 4 guys right there. And then Drew Beasley has done some good things as well. So we'll be all right. We'll be all right there. Brandon Randall has played in there. Could bounce back around, but the feeling right now is that he's a linebacker.
You didn't see Camper very long in the spring because he had some ailments earlier.
Right.
So we saw him for a short time, but he impressed you a little bit though in a short amount of time.
Yeah, Jack can really run. He's extremely long. He's got good. He's a good pass rusher. He's going to be a very good player. He's 250 pounds right now, so he's gotten bigger.
Well, you talk about Donnie Treadwell and I were talking this summer, and he said because he's primarily been an offensive guy, he thinks he can bring some things to the defense saying, this is how I would attack you, here's how we're going to work on you. Do you think that's a little bit of mad scientist there? He seemed excited about that.
Well, when we were looking for the 10th coach, I was trying to figure out exactly what direction we would go with this. Do you have a full-time recruiter? Do you bring a special teams coach in? Do you bring a 5th defensive assistant in? And if so, who is that guy? What does he bring? And I felt like bringing another proven secondary coach in that's always coached, I felt like that would, I want one guy to be I want one guy to be handling that. Then I felt like our linebackers, there's 3 of them. 3 linebackers, 1 coach. You split the defensive line up with defensive ends and defensive tackles. So I felt like bringing a guy who's spent his life on the offensive side of the ball, but at the skilled position, a guy who would be our freshman coach, but a guy also who knows our terminology offensively, could serve as our coach on the scout team for offensive players to understand to put it in their terminology, and for our offensive players to continue the learning process are all positives. And I've known him, and I'm able to bounce things off of him as far as just issues and things of that nature. He's a Spartan. I know he has Michigan State's best interests at heart, and there was there really was no question. When I sat down and talked to him, I thought, this is the guy I want.
Now, Mark, after he's freshman head coach, kind of a new thing, right?
New thing.
After 3 or 4 years, it's conceivable that he could know your roster as well as anybody in the program. So you're okay that head coach was one of those.
Not just their playing abilities, but their personalities and their backgrounds and their families. And the way I anticipate it, he will take that group forward as a sophomore group and then hand it off and then come back and get the freshmen. And then our player personnel person, Dino Felino, will take next year's freshmen. So we're sort of scale up.
So he'll take sophomores?
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see how it all shakes out. I've talked to Treden both ways, but we'll see how it all shakes out. See what he wants to do.
Sorry for Jim Delaney mentioned yesterday injury reports and the potential
yes,
for that.
injury reports.
Obviously with gambling, what's your take on that being, potentially a mandated requirement for each program?
Yes. We'll comply. I think as I can't remember the different facets that they're going to have, but usually by Thursday but sometimes you still don't know. I mean, I'll never forget Javon Ringer on a Thursday,
Michigan game.
Before the Michigan game, and there was no way he was playing. There was no way he was playing. And then I walk in there Friday morning, and he's moving around, and he was able to play. So, I mean, those things are probably still exist, but I would think they'd be the exception, not the rule.
I know injuries are obviously not your favorite
You hate
topic.
to talk about the specific injury. That's the only problem.
I know that it's not the favorite topic of any coach to address injuries, really, but do you think that maybe if the mandating of the injury report would make it easier for you guys so you wouldn't, it's just out there and you don't have to pick and choose who you talk about?
Yeah, I think the mandating of it, as long as there's consistency in it, I mean, like I said, you're going to line them up and coach them. Do Yeah, I think in or out or availability. I mean, when you start specifying the injury, that leads to other assumptions.
Are you a fan of the condensed fall camp window? Do you like that, or would you rather have more time built in that?
Am I a fan of the
sort of smaller window?
Smaller window?
For your fall camp, or would you rather have more?
Last year was the first time we had done that, and we had plenty of time to get ready. I think we still have time to get ready. I know we still have Sundays that will be pretty much off. But like I said, I'm just going to line them up and coach them.
Those guys in the interior, the defensive line,
Luffy's coming off a knee injury, so he should be ready at the end of August here. But he's coming off that knee injury, so it's a challenge. He's weighing about 300 pounds now. He's a big man. He's a very athletic big man. He needs to step on the field and play consistently.
Defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle. Gerald Owens.
You got some veterans back.
Yeah. Gerald Owens, Naquan Jones. Those are two other proven players, and we really rotated those guys in there, and they played a lot of football for us.
I mean, are there other guys that you surprised there?
Yeah, I think that Jacob Slade's a guy that may get on the field earlier than late. He's a very good football player as a freshman, and you could just sort of tell the way he moves that there's something there. There's Moofy, the other guy that. I got a lot of guys' names in my mind here, but Diari Todd is up to 278 pounds, so he's a bigger, more physical guy, and I think he has a chance as well. So it's going to depend on how his August comes, but he was a guy that we recruited was 245 or 50 pounds. Now he's 280. Good weight. Oh, very, very, very much so. I mean, they were dominant. They played square at the point of attack and didn't get knocked off the ball and allowed our linebackers to play around them.
You do a lot of scouting of your opponents in the summer.
Yes.
How in the world do you scout a Herm Edwards that hasn't even been in coaching for a while?
We watch a lot of the spring game.
But I mean, do you look at his assistants?
You look at the assistants, and like I said, the spring game, and then you're going to just have to watch the first game, I guess.
Coach, it's difficult. Go from 3-9 to 10-3, and the reasons why. But as you look back at last season, is there anything that stands out as a defining moment, the most complete game you guys played that propelled you forward?
Well, I think as we went into the season, we started believing that we were back. I think the Iowa game, you know, was a tough game. It was a good opponent, great opponent. Winning at the end, tight game all the way through. Those type of situations. That game sort of brought us forward a little bit. But I think all of our games are, you know, and there are no easy games in this conference. There are none, not one. So you're challenging.
How's Connor Hayward looking?
Good. Connor's 228 pounds. He can do so many things from the tailback position, and he looks very, very good.
A handful of states have legalized sports gambling, and more probably will soon. I guess it's kind of a matter of how it's going to change college football. Do you wonder or think about how it might affect college football in the future?
Yeah, I wonder how that will affect college football. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. I have so many other problems. But I think that's probably why the listing of who's in and who's out the game, I don't necessarily think is good for college football, that's for sure, but it's a day in the world that we're living in. So again, I go back to what I've said earlier. There's some things that I may have an opinion on, but I have no bearing on it, so I try not to worry about it too much.
Mark, the rivalry with Ohio State and Michigan State since you've been there has been probably the best in the Big Ten as far as from a competitive standpoint. Can you just speak about the rivalry between you guys and Ohio State?
Well, I think that we've, first of all, have a lot of people from the state of Ohio, myself included, and quite a few players. So it becomes a little bit more personal. I understand that. We've tried to measure ourselves against, you know, I think every time that in any program here, when you come in, you start to measure yourself and identify with somebody, and you try and catch them or hold them off, one of the two. And in our case, it's always been, okay, Ohio State has been the, probably the team with the most success in our conference in the past, 7, 8 years or whatever it's been. They've always been a team to beat in this conference, always. And so you measure yourself by wins against that football team and by your success. So I think we're going to line up and play and get ourselves ready to go. But they're a challenge. There's no question. Last year was not pretty.
Well, I know obviously Mike Trust is on your staff. I'm just curious how often you use interest to speak. Obviously you guys are part of the national championship.
Yeah, I talk to Trust quite often. I just like talking to him and getting his perspective on things. I talked to him about 40 minutes the other day, and it's just, it's not, he's talking about just different things. It's not even talking about football sometimes or anything that really has to do with here. It's just talking about a little bit of life in general. He'll always be a mentor for me. He'll always be somebody that I can talk to and bounce things off of. And, I got to where I got really because of probably 5 or 6 people in this profession, and he is certainly one of them.
Mark, in 10 wins, were you aware of that?
I am aware.
It's obviously a challenge.
One at a time. That's all I can tell you. One at a time. So there are a lot of people who have been involved in our program in the course of 12 years. A lot of coaches, administrators, players. They've all helped with this goal. So to me, that's a program goal or a program mark when we do reach that mark, and I think we will at some point reach it. But that'll be a program mark, and that'll be exciting for not just me, but for everybody that's ever touched our program. I think that they all have a big part of it.
Guys, we got to wrap it up. We got to head over to 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, everybody good? No, I got to tell you, our mantra. Nobody asked me what our mantra is.
We asked you earlier.
Oh,
you said heave.
That's right.
Brian said it's not that catchy.
It's not that catchy. I can see shirts now that say heave. It's a good one.
Thanks,
Write it down.